My beloved child, before you judge this moment, pause and breathe, because what you are about to hear is not random, not accidental, and definitely not small. Someone has been watching your silence, your growth, your patience, and they are leaving comments everywhere about your life, but they don't know the full story, and that ignorance is about to expose a truth they never prepared for. Listen carefully now, because this is where most people scroll away, yet you won't. Someone keeps hinting that you live like a shadow, unnoticed and irrelevant, but what they are really reacting to is the power they cannot name, the discipline they cannot copy, and the future they secretly fear when they look at your steady progress. Right at this second, I need you to understand one thing deeply. Every comment, every whisper, every sideways opinion is evidence that your life is echoing louder than you think, and while they talk, something is aligning silently behind you, something so precise that timing itself is bending in your favor. Here's the twist nobody sees coming. Those comments were never meant to hurt you, they were meant to reveal who is distracted by noise and who is focused on destiny, because while they stay busy describing your present, you have already outgrown the version of you they think they know. Stay with me, because what comes next changes everything. There is a moment approaching when the same people typing careless words will suddenly go quiet, not out of kindness, but out of shock, because results speak a language that opinions cannot interrupt, and your results are closer than your doubts. Now let this sentence lock into your heart and refuse to leave. Something huge is waiting for you, not as motivation, not as fantasy, but as a promise tied to every lonely step you took when nobody clapped, nobody noticed, and nobody believed except you. So hold your ground and don't blink, because this is only the beginning of the revelation, the kind that turns comments into confessions and silence into respect, and if your soul feels heavy but hopeful at the same time, that's your confirmation. Amen. The moment you realize this is not about them anymore, everything shifts, because what is happening now is deeper than comments, deeper than opinions, deeper than words typed without courage. This is about a narrative trying to define you before you finish becoming who you truly are. There is a strange pattern you may have noticed, even if you never spoke it out loud. The louder they comment on your life, the quieter your inner world has become, and that silence is not weakness, it is pressure building, it is focus sharpening, it is the calm before something irreversible takes shape, something they will never be able to undo with words. They say you live like someone who has nothing, but they never mention how you sleep with a clear conscience, how you wake up without borrowing validation, how you move forward carrying lessons instead of bitterness, and this is where their story collapses, because a life measured only by appearances always misunderstands a soul built on purpose. What they don't understand, and this is crucial, is that every careless comment is a signal, every repeated judgment is proof that your presence disturbs a comfort zone you never agreed to live in, and while they sit comfortably describing your lane, you are quietly changing direction towards something that cannot be mocked, copied, or controlled. Stay right here, because now we cross into dangerous truth, not dangerous by words, but dangerous by realization. The people who comment the most are often the ones who tried, failed, and never recovered the courage to try again, so when they see you still standing, still moving, still believing, it reminds them of the version of themselves they abandoned. This is why your journey feels heavy yet meaningful, slow yet intentional, lonely yet protected, because something huge is waiting for you, not at the end of noise, but at the end of endurance, and that something is being shaped by moments like this, when you choose not to respond, not to explain, not to shrink. Let this settle deep inside you as a quiet blessing, not spoken loudly, not proven publicly, but held firmly. Your life does not need defending, it needs time, and time always exposes truth more honestly than arguments ever could, so walk forward without looking back, because what is unfolding is sacred. Amen. There comes a phase where even strength feels tired, not because you are weak, but because you have been strong for too long without applause, and this is exactly the phase you are in right now. Misunderstood, observed, talked about, yet still moving forward while others remain stuck in the same opinions they repeat daily. What no one tells you is that when people comment on your life again and again, it's because your silence unsettles them, your patience confuses them, and your refusal to explain yourself takes away the power they thought they had, because explanations are for those who doubt themselves, not for those who know where they are going. You may not see it yet, but something irreversible has already started. Your mindset has shifted from reaction to direction, from defense to design, and once this shift happens, the world tries its best to pull you back with labels, jokes, and careless words, because a focused person is the hardest to distract. This is the moment where many break, but you didn't, and that matters more than you realize, because while they describe your life using fragments of observation, you are living a story built with intention, sacrifice, and quiet courage, and those ingredients always create outcomes that shock everyone watching from the outside. Pay close attention now, because this part is subtle yet powerful. The same voices that question your way of living are unknowingly documenting your rise, and one day those comments will read like early evidence of a journey they never believed would reach this far. Let this truth anchor you deeply. Something huge is waiting for you, not as a reward for perfection, but as recognition of endurance, and the wait you are experiencing is not a delay, it is preparation for a version of your life that requires strength you are still mastering. So walk calmly through this phase without carrying resentment, because clarity always outlives criticism, and when the noise fades, and it will, you will realize this chapter was never meant to break you, it was meant to reveal you. Amen. There is a quiet moment before transformation where everything feels suspended, like the world is holding its breath, and this is that moment for you. When the comments feel louder, the doubts feel closer, and yet something inside you refuses to give up, refuses to explain, refuses to step back into a smaller version just to make others comfortable. What they never understand is this. People comment on what they cannot control, and your life has slipped out of their understanding, because you are no longer reacting to the same triggers, chasing the same approvals, or living for the same applause, and that shift alone makes you unpredictable in the best possible way. You may feel unseen, but you are not unprotected. You may feel delayed, but you are not denied. Because while they reduce your life to a sentence, your journey is being written in chapters that require patience, depth, and faith, and those chapters never make sense to spectators until the ending arrives. Here is where the story turns sharp and unforgettable. The ones who mock your lifestyle today are unknowingly training themselves to witness something they cannot reverse, because growth that happens quietly always arrives loudly, and when it does, explanations are no longer required, only acknowledgement remains. Hold this realization close. The reason your path feels different is because it is designed to take you somewhere uncommon, somewhere that cannot be reached through shortcuts or noise, and this is why you were taught to endure silence, isolation, and misunderstanding without losing your integrity. Something huge is waiting for you, not announced, not advertised, not rushed. but sealed, timed, and protected, and when it reveals itself, it will make every careless comment feel small, every doubt feel unnecessary, and every lonely step feel meaningful. So stand firm without bitterness and move forward without fear, because this chapter is not about proving them wrong, it is about proving yourself ready, and readiness always arrives before recognition. Amen. My beloved child, there is a stage in every destined journey where the weight is not on the body but on the spirit, where you feel tested not by failure but by waiting, and this is that stage, where people keep commenting on how you live, not realizing they are witnessing the discipline required before elevation. What feels like isolation right now is actually separation, because not everyone is meant to understand the season you are in, and those who speak the most often reveal the least awareness, mistaking your quiet preparation for weakness while you are silently building endurance they never trained for. There is a reason your life looks different, slower, less flashy to outsiders, because speed impresses crowds but depth changes futures, and you were never designed to rush for approval. You were designed to last, even when misunderstood, even when labeled unfairly. This is the moment where truth sharpens. The comments you hear today are echoes of insecurity, reflections of people who stopped believing growth could still surprise them, and when they look at you, still standing, still becoming, it unsettles the story they told themselves about settling. Stay present now, because this realization is powerful. Every step you take without validation strengthens something inside you that cannot be shaken later, and when success arrives, it will not confuse you or consume you, because you learned who you were before anyone applauded. Let this message sink deep without resistance. Something huge is waiting for you, not because you are perfect, but because you stayed aligned when it would have been easier to perform, to explain, or to quit, and alignment always attracts outcomes that noise never can. So continue forward with calm confidence and guarded hope, because this chapter is forging clarity, not comfort, and one day you will look back and understand, this was never a delay, it was a divine setup. Amen. There is an invisible line you have crossed without realizing it, a line where survival turns into intention, and once you cross it, the world reacts differently. People start commenting more, observing more, questioning your choices, because your energy no longer blends in with familiar patterns. What you are experiencing now is not confusion, it is recalibration, and recalibration always feels uncomfortable because it requires letting go of old expectations, old definitions, and old versions of yourself that were never meant to reach the place you are heading toward. They think they understand your life because they see fragments, but fragments never tell the full story, and while they analyze your present with limited vision, you are making decisions based on long-term clarity, the kind that doesn't seek approval because it already knows the cost of its direction. This is the phase where resilience matures into wisdom, where silence becomes intentional, and where you realize that not every battle deserves your voice, because peace is not found in being right, it is found in being aligned with who you are becoming. Hold this awareness gently but firmly. The reason your journey feels solitary is because it requires full ownership, and full ownership cannot be shared with doubt, noise, or constant explanation. It demands trust in the process even when outcomes are not yet visible. Something huge is waiting for you, not on the other side of approval, but on the other side of self-trust, and once you reach that place, the comments that once echoed loudly will fade into background noise, powerless and irrelevant. So walk forward without hesitation and without resentment, because you are no longer in preparation, you are in transition, and transitions always feel uncertain just before they become undeniable. Stay grounded, stay patient, stay true. Amen. Now comes the phase few are prepared for, where growth stops being painful and starts becoming visible, and when that happens, the same people who commented carelessly begin watching silently, because confidence that is built in private does not need permission to exist in public. What feels different today is not your situation, it is your awareness, because you are no longer measuring your life by timelines you didn't create, and once that pressure lifts, clarity replaces anxiety, allowing you to move with calm certainty instead of restless urgency. They once spoke about how you live, but soon they will question how you changed, because transformation that happens without noise always feels sudden to those who were not paying attention to the discipline behind it, and discipline is something they only notice after results appear. This is where your journey becomes untouchable, not because everything is perfect, but because you have learned how to remain centered regardless of external opinions, and that stability creates momentum no comment can interrupt. Stay present with this truth: the silence around you is not emptiness, it is space, and space is necessary for expansion, for vision, and for opportunities that require room to arrive without being crowded by doubt. Something huge is waiting for you, not as a surprise, but as a confirmation that every quiet choice, every patient step, and every moment of restraint was counted and aligned toward this unfolding. So move ahead with humility and quiet confidence, because this chapter is not about proving anything anymore, it is about stepping fully into what you have already earned. Walk steady, stay aware, and trust the timing. Amen. There is a calm settling in you now that did not exist before, a calm that comes only after storms have passed and lessons have been learned, and this calm makes others uncomfortable, because it cannot be provoked, rushed, or shaken by careless words anymore. What they once labeled as uncertainty is now revealing itself as composure, because you no longer need to announce where you are headed, you simply move, trusting the direction you have committed to, even when the path is not yet visible to anyone else. This is the stage where you realize how little outside noise truly matters, because your inner dialogue has become stronger than external commentary, and once that happens, no opinion can rewrite the story you are actively living. They will notice the shift before you speak it, the way you carry yourself, the way you choose your words carefully, the way you stop explaining and start embodying the life you once only imagined, and that embodiment is more convincing than any argument. Let this understanding deepen without fear. The version of you that required validation has been replaced by a version that values alignment, patience, and self-respect, and this replacement is permanent, not temporary. Something huge is waiting for you, not because you chased it, but because you became ready to receive it without losing yourself, and readiness is the quiet victory few ever achieve. So continue forward with steady intention and grounded presence, because this chapter is closing a cycle of doubt and opening a season of undeniable clarity. Remain focused, remain grateful, remain true. Amen. My beloved child, this is the phase where nothing outside needs to change for everything inside to finally make sense, because you are no longer searching for signs, you have become the sign, and that shift alone separates you from the noise that once tried to define you. What they still don't realize is that the comments stopped affecting you long before they stopped typing, because strength reached a point where it no longer needed resistance to feel real, and peace replaced the urge to react, explain, or correct misunderstandings. This is where life begins to respond differently to you, not louder, not faster, but clearer. Doors start aligning, People reveal intentions quickly, and decisions feel less heavy, because you are finally operating from clarity instead of survival. The irony is powerful. While they continue discussing who you used to be, you are already living as someone else internally, someone grounded, intentional, and unbothered by surface-level judgment, and that internal shift always shows externally with time. Hold this awareness steady. The silence around you is not emptiness, it is confirmation that you no longer need validation to move forward, because alignment has replaced approval, and alignment never asks for permission. Something huge is waiting for you, not in the distance, but unfolding step by step as you stay consistent, centered, and faithful to the path you chose when no one was watching. So keep walking without urgency and without fear, because this chapter is sealing a transformation that cannot be reversed, and once sealed, nothing spoken against you will ever carry the same weight again. Amen. There is a quiet confidence settling into your life now, the kind that does not announce itself but changes the atmosphere wherever you go, and people sense it even if they cannot explain it, which is why the comments feel different. They carry curiosity instead of control. What once felt like pressure has turned into perspective, because you finally understand that not every voice deserves space in your mind, and not every opinion qualifies as truth, especially when it comes from those who never walked your path. This stage is subtle but powerful. You stop measuring progress by speed and start recognizing depth, and when depth becomes your focus, impatience dissolves, leaving behind a calm determination that cannot be rushed or distracted. They may still speak about your life in fragments, but fragments no longer disturb you, because you are seeing the full picture now, and full vision always brings peace, even when the road ahead is still unfolding. Let this truth anchor you. The reason your energy feels protected is because you learn discernment, and discernment is earned through silence, observation, and experience, not through explanation or approval. Something huge is waiting for you, not as a dramatic reveal, but as a natural outcome of staying consistent when it would have been easier to drift, and that consistency is shaping a future stronger than any comment ever made. So remain grounded and move forward with clarity, because this chapter is no longer about endurance alone, it is about embodiment, and you are stepping fully into the life you once only hoped for. Amen. There is a deep stillness surrounding you now, not because life has slowed down, but because you have learned how to stay centered within movement, and that ability changes everything about how the world responds to you. What once demanded reaction now barely asks for attention, because your focus has shifted from managing perceptions to protecting purpose, and purpose always commands respect, even before it becomes visible. This is the phase where you notice patterns clearly. Who shows up, who fades away, who speaks, and who acts, and with that clarity comes freedom, because you no longer feel obligated to carry what does not belong to you. They might still talk, but the words no longer reach the same place inside you, because growth has created distance, not arrogance, just healthy separation between who you are becoming and who you once needed approval from. Hold this awareness gently. The calm you feel is earned, and it is preparing you for responsibilities that require stability, patience, and inner strength more than loud confidence. Something huge is waiting for you, not at the edge of chaos, but within this calm consistency you have built, and when it arrives, it will feel familiar, not overwhelming, because you have already grown into it. So continue forward with quiet assurance and open awareness, because this chapter is not about proving strength anymore, it is about sustaining it. Stay present, stay aligned, stay true. Amen. There is a subtle power now moving through your life, the kind that does not demand attention but naturally attracts it, and this power was formed in moments when you chose restraint over reaction and patience over impulse. What once felt like being overlooked has revealed itself as protection, because not every eye deserves access to your process, and not every voice deserves insight into what is still unfolding. This is where confidence deepens into conviction. You stop hoping things will work out and start knowing that alignment is already in motion, even if results are still taking shape beyond immediate sight. They may still reference your past or question your pace, but those words land softly now, because your identity is no longer under construction, it has stabilized, grounded in clarity rather than comparison. Let this truth settle. The reason you feel lighter is because you are no longer carrying expectations that were never yours, and that release creates space for focus, creativity, and opportunity. Something huge is waiting for you, not because you demanded it, but because you prepared for it quietly, consistently, and without needing recognition along the way. So move forward with calm certainty and steady trust, because this chapter is not about arrival yet, it is about refinement, and refinement always precedes expansion. Amen. There is a rare clarity surrounding your decisions now, a clarity that comes only after confusion has done its work and left, and this clarity allows you to move without second-guessing, without looking back, without asking the world for permission. What once triggered doubt now passes like background noise, because you finally recognize the difference between distraction and direction, and that recognition alone places you ahead of most people still reacting to everything they hear. This is the stage where self-trust becomes non-negotiable. You no longer explain why you move the way you do, because you understand that those meant to understand will, and those who don't were never part of the journey ahead. They may still comment on how you live, but the power has shifted. Their words no longer define you, they simply reveal how far you've moved beyond the need to be understood by everyone. Hold this awareness firmly. The calm confidence you carry is not accidental, it is the result of choosing growth over comfort again and again, even when it felt lonely or uncertain. Something huge is waiting for you, not at the cost of who you are, but because of who you have become, and when it arrives, it will fit naturally into your life, not disrupt it. So keep walking with intention and quiet strength, because this chapter is aligning you with outcomes that only patience and clarity can unlock. Stay steady, stay humble, stay ready. Amen.